There are 7 swing states on the 2024 electoral map where neither candidate holds a clear, undeniable edge. That is extraordinary. It's truly hard to put into words how close this election will be. Now, the polling averages in all 7 of these states, colored in a shade of yellow on this map, are within 2.5 percentage points, or within the margin of error, that is, according to Real Clear Polling and the Silver Bulletin. With that said, a systematic polling error or a shift in the final 6 weeks of the campaign could certainly result in one candidate sweeping all of these states, and thereby winning more than 300 electoral votes. But more likely than that, these 7 states will split in some fashion, making it especially important to understand the regional dynamics and how they contribute to the math that gets either candidate to 270 electoral votes. It did vote a full point to the right of Pennsylvania in 2020, and Trump has pulled ahead pretty much all cycle long. In fact, his current lead in Arizona is identical to Georgia at 0.7% based on 29 polls. We could certainly use more surveys here, as we've only seen 3 post-debate polls, each of which show the former president leading, including a 4-point advantage in the latest high-profile Times Siena College poll. Now, Arizona is a state where Republican gains among Hispanics in recent cycles could play a key role, not to mention voter apathy towards Democrats concerning the issue of immigration, where Arizona is perhaps the hotspot for such concerns. And finally, it's also worth noting that Arizona does have a relatively large retiree population, as roughly 20% of Arizonians are over the age of 65. That is a demographic that Republicans have traditionally performed well with. At this point, I do think that Arizona, along with Georgia and North Carolina, are the 3 likeliest toss-ups to vote for Trump right now, and together they do lift him up to 262 electoral votes. In addition to North Carolina, I also think that Georgia falls in the must-win category. Also in the Southeast, it is the most fundamentally Republican state of those remaining, as I have it down as slightly to the right in that respect than Arizona. Joe Biden won Georgia by 0.2% in 2020, and Arizona by 0.3%, so they are neck and neck there. But while Republicans have effectively been shut out in non-presidential statewide races in Arizona over the last few cycles, they have found some success here in Georgia. It's also worth noting that the polls here have been highly accurate, and that is bad news for Harris, since, as you can see here, she does trail Trump by 0.7% based on 28 polls in the DDHQ average. In this video, we will go through these 7 states by order of likelihood of Trump winning them, considering that he is the one on offense in 6 of them, while Harris looks to hold as many as possible in the Democratic corner. Before we get to those toss-ups, though, let's briefly hit the secondary battlegrounds. States like Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire, all in the lean Democrat category. Harris probably only loses in the event of a complete collapse. If I were running either of the campaigns, I would not be worrying about these states. Similar story as in Texas and Florida, which are leaning in favor of Trump. He would only lose these states in a tidal blue wave, which is very, very unlikely at this point. Ultimately, there's a reason why you see such little money being flown into non-toss-up states, as campaigns have gotten a lot smarter. They know that their most efficient paths to the White House come through some combination of these 7 toss-ups, and so spending too many resources elsewhere would be a waste of time. So this is Trump's most efficient path to the White House. But is it what I think is going to happen? The short answer is no, but in truth, it's just really complicated. Again, this is the closest election I have ever seen, and anybody who tells you otherwise is looking at this map with blue or red tinted glasses on. I think it's just as likely that Harris holds Wisconsin and is thereby elected president with 276 votes. And again, it's also not out of the realm of possibility that she keeps Arizona and Georgia in her corner and flips North Carolina. Just as it is equally possible that Trump wins all 7 as well and thereby reaches 312 electoral votes. Though if you asked me to place money on the race, I would probably fill it out as such: Harris to hold Michigan and Nevada, while I would simply refuse in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin as they go in the pure toss-up category, leaving Trump with 262 and Harris at 247. In comparing this map to the latest odds via BetOnline, we see Republicans favored in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, just as on my map, whereas Democrats have an edge in Nevada and in Michigan. Now, as for our two toss-ups, Democrats are favored at -165 in Wisconsin, which roughly translates to a 60% chance. To me, that does feel a little high. Likewise, in Pennsylvania, Democrats are at -130 or an approximate 56% chance. Just some food for thought there. As always, you can feel free to comment your thoughts and feelings about this map in the comment section below. Yet if I were the Harris campaign, I would still worry about the Badger states. It was the subject of the largest polling errors underestimating Trump in 2016 and 2020. And given the aforementioned demographic factors, it would be the front line for any Trump overperformance among the white working class. With all of that said, if he does indeed crack the blue wall, it's most likely to start in Wisconsin, and that would get him to 272 electoral votes, meaning that he could lose in Michigan and in Pennsylvania, as well as Nevada, and still be elected to a second non-consecutive term in the Oval Office. And there are a whole lot more Trump pluses here over the last few weeks. In fact, there has not been a single poll showing Harris ahead by 3 or more points all cycle long, whereas you see a Trump +4, 2 Trump +3s here, another Trump +4, and a Trump +7 all over the last 2 months. Ultimately, given that Biden only won the state by 0.2%, even the slightest bit of slippage for Harris could tip the state back towards Donald Trump. For instance, a 5% swing to the right with black voters would see her lose Georgia by a full point, even if she managed to not lose any of Biden's margins with white voters. I say that because voter file data does show a significantly higher share of new black registrants are registering as Republican, and given that Trump is continuing to gain some ground with black voters in the polls, I do think that Georgia becomes Trump's next most likely state, and his first flip on this map is he is now just 19 votes shy of 270 with 251. The Keystone State, Pennsylvania, could get him to exactly 270, but I don't think that that is his next likeliest bet. Rather, I do think he is better positioned to flip Arizona at this point. On that note, of these 7 states, the most likely to vote for Trump is North Carolina, not necessarily because the polls are more favorable to him here, but because the fundamentals are strongest for Republicans. Now, could the revelations about the Republican nominee for governor, Mark Robinson, make a difference in the presidential race in North Carolina? Well, Trump currently leads by only 0.6% in the DDHQ polling average, so it's not like it would need to make that much of a difference to swing the outcome. That is, if we're just looking at the polling data. But history does suggest that while the presidential race can influence down-ballot races, it's truly rare to see the reverse of that effect. So while Harris is currently running ads based on Trump's enthusiastic endorsement of Robinson, I'm not expecting to see too much of a dip for Trump here in the next 2 weeks. The issue for Harris here is that this would not be the first time that polls suggested Democrats had a real shot in North Carolina, only for them to fall short. Hillary Clinton led in 2016, yet lost by almost 4 points, and Biden led in 2020, and he also lost, albeit by a narrower 1.3%. I appreciate all positive or negative comments. Also, make sure to let me know down there what other 2024 related videos you would like to see in the future. Big shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click the join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Make sure to subscribe to my channel as well, and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can check out more content from my channel here, and as always, thank you so much for watching.